Hi, I'm Rashad Bayramov, communication trainer and coach, and this is my Effective Communication series, where I share with you tips and advice on how to influence people in business and life. Today I want to talk to you about feedback, or how to give feedback. Now, after my video on constructive criticism, I've actually received quite a few phone calls and online messages on giving a bit more information about not just how to criticize people, but how to just give feedback. So I'm going to share with you a very simple framework, a 4-step framework that I personally use at my work when I want to give feedback to my staff members or my colleagues. So step number 1, ask questions and listen. Now, no matter how much information you have ready in your brain, ready to unload to another person, and even if you think that you're completely right, do not fall into that trap. The first thing that you should do is to ask a question and listen to the arguments presented by your counterpart, by your employee, by your staff member. Always give them the benefit of doubt. Once you've asked your question and you're listening to the other side's story, then step number 2 is present your corrective feedback or your suggestion or your criticism or your remark about something that you don't like or something that didn't go well or something that could be done better. And of course, while doing that, you make sure that you remain objective and fact-based. Step number 3 is once you provided your critical feedback, once you've given your corrective suggestion, you actually inspire the person. You give him or her some positive, inspirational remark. And what it means is that once you said to somebody that he or she didn't do something well, you actually need to add to it that this is not about that person. It is about a thing or an action or a report or a paper or a speech or, I don't know, a number that he or she delivered. So you don't touch that person's character, you just talk about his or her delivery, his or her actions. So in that step number 3, when you inspire somebody, you basically say, hey, you made a mistake, but you are a great person. And step number 4 is always end with a commitment from that person. In other words, it may sound something like, Rashad, thank you for coming. Let me ask you a question. And you ask a question. Okay, now I see your point. And you can even paraphrase. Do I understand you correctly? Okay, now let me give you my feedback. I believe that something has to be done this way, or you made a mistake here, or you shouldn't have talked like this to somebody else or a client, and you explain the reasons why, and then you say, but having said that, I do believe that you are a very capable individual. You can actually deliver this project much better. You can, go to great lengths to deliver a fantastic result, etc. So you give an inspirational speech and you end up with something like, okay, so what have we agreed on? What will you do as your next step? So the simple framework actually describes to you how I at least approach feedbacks with my staff and colleagues. And I think it will be helpful to you. And a couple of things, or 4 things to keep in mind, sort of criteria that be aware of when you deliver feedback is number 1, is always use facts. Do not ever say I feel like, or I was told. Always use the facts that you are aware of. Number 2 is don't postpone your conversation. Don't wait until it's too late, like a couple of weeks later, that you say, hey, by the way, I want to talk to you about something, you've made a mistake here and there. That would simply not be appropriate anymore. So fresh feedback is always best, literally a couple of hours and maximum a day later, but not like a couple of weeks later. So then is choose the right place for your feedback. In other words, make sure that you're always one-on-one with the person, especially if that feedback has certain criticism built into it. And finally, after you've given the feedback, after you've given your recommendation, if you see any progress, by all means compliment that progress. Hey, you know what? I've seen your report the other day. That's much better. I really enjoyed reading it. Keep up the good work. that will show to that individual that you actually care and you're attentive to follow up after your feedback. Okay, I hope that simple framework and this criteria will help you make your feedback more positive and more effective next time. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you in our next installations, in our next videos.